Bitches Get Stuff Done is brought to you in part by Bargersville Wellness, a salon, spa, barber shop, and yoga studio in the heart of downtown Bargersville. We are inclusive in our clientele as well as our team members, and we are here to make the planet better while making you feel more beautiful and taking time for yourself. Visit us at bargersvillewellness.com or on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at Bargersville Wellness.
Hey bitches, this is Blythe Potter in Bargersville, Indiana. We're doing something a little different today. Co-founder and usually the host of this, Heather Ryan, needed a mental break. Many of you know she is a Navy veteran. I'm an Army veteran. And to hear that someone who is so involved in politics and all things now and current events needing an emotional and mental break is a little alarming and a little distressing. And I'm on the opposite end of that spectrum. I'm like, oh my God, as a veteran, I want to talk about this. Like, I need to talk about this. And I'm like, okay, who can I contact? I was like, oh, I'm going to contact my friend Tom, Combat Veterans Against Trump on TikTok for anyone watching. So Tom, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your military history and your current organization that you represent. And then we'll just talk about Iran.
Military history is nothing special. Just 88 Mike that went overseas in Iraq, 2009. I just got put on a cool mission with so I was with the 334 Quartermaster Battalion out of Connecticut, and it was a volunteer mission. I actually went on the AKO. Was like, hey, like, yeah, volunteer, let's go. And I was 21, and they cross-leveled me into the 334, and we were in direct support of Special Operations Command, and I saw the cool side of the military that I didn't even know existed, because at that time I just wanted to do something with my life, and have a career. So I learned what leadership was supposed to be.
Yeah, and 88 Mike is
truck driver. Yeah, truck driver.
Yeah. Okay. I was in military police, and I kind of feel like I lucked into my mission too. I didn't volunteer, but I got picked as a small 19-person detail for personal security for General George Casey from 2005 to 2006. And I also feel like I got to see a lot of good leadership, even though there's also a lot of bad leadership, which we're finding. We're seeing that in real time.
Yeah, people get real funny about this patch, and I'm just like, look, I'm not them. I just, I wear my combat patch with pride. That's it. Well,
and you should. And I think what I appreciate most is not you sound and look a lot like my younger brother, my baby brother, who's actually like almost 40. But he actually voted for Donald Trump. And so what I really like about it is, like, you tell it how it is, but you're very progressive minded.
Yeah. It's funny. Like in 2016, I was, I voted for Trump, and I had to really deconstruct and learn that, what I did was a mistake. And, like, that's the thing, like, people can make mistakes, but you have to learn how to, do better when you do make those mistakes and not make those mistakes over again. I mean, 2020, you're kind of like, you're kind of an asshole at that point, but, like, I can't justify someone voting for an insurrectionist, but I digress.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I am not fully keeping up with what's happening in Iran. It is very alarming. I'm a millennial, so this is not the first war in the Middle East or Asia, however you want to talk about that area. And it's quite alarming. Congress did not approve it. In fact, they're not even in, neither is the Senate. And I'm hearing that he's lying about how destructive it really was. So I'm definitely curious about your thoughts on this.
Thoughts are, I just hope I don't have to wake up to airstrikes in the middle of the night. That's what I'm worried about. Like, people think that, like, this is just like Iraq, that we were fighting militias. We weren't fighting an actual military. This is an actual military that has money and power. And right now our military is being distracted by California, and most of the military doesn't even want to serve under this presidency. So, like, we have weak spots all over the place, and we just pissed off a country that we shouldn't even been involved in the first place.
Yeah. So, and I didn't know this, so Benjamin Netanyahu is the one who kind of pulled us into who pulled us into this.
Yeah.
But I did not know at the time when I went to Iraq that he pulled us into that one as well as Desert Storm. I had no clue that that was like really his mastermind. And I don't understand how he is still even able to do what he's doing to Palestine or anyone else for that matter.
Well, I mean, money, war and money going hand in hand. I mean, we're in a war industrial complex. You know, everything we have from our phones to our cars to our streets, you know, to our GPSs. Everything was built first for the military, and I'm sure a lot of other countries are the same way. Mm-hmm. So, without war, we don't have an economy, and
whew, that is a sad truth, and that is like toxic capitalism right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, you know, they're trying to find a way to, you know, keep capitalism alive and keep people distracted.
Do you see a way out of that? I actually have a master's degree in business, but it's in specifically conscious capitalism. So more like B Corps, for benefit corporations that, you know, they make money, but they're not doing it at the expense of the environment, their people, or other people from other countries who might be creating their products.
Well, yeah, our country's bankrupt, so it's gonna work its way out on its own. You know, we're gonna go so far in debt that we can't get ourselves out of it, and we're gonna have to, you know, seek another way of living. I mean, you know, you can't fix what's happening right now. We're too far backwards.
Bitches Get Stuff Done, the podcast, is brought to you in part by the upcoming self-guided lesson book, Fight Like a Bitch, Modern Strategies for Social Activists to Fight Back Against the Wave of Authoritarianism. Help support publishing this book with a Kickstarter pledge at bitchesgetstuffdone.org.
What do you see happening if, let's say, we are able to get Trump impeached and removed from office? Does that fix the problem, or is it so much deeper than that with Pete and Stephen Miller and all of them?
So Trump has already created the cheat code for the Republican Party to gain votes. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have to deconstruct, you know, our political landscape, especially the Republican and Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party is too lenient. And they don't want to, you know, rock the boat. Mm-hmm. So, you know, all these things could have been alleviated. We could have, you know, we should have had Kamala Harris as the front runner for president instead of putting Biden in place, because their misogyny and racism was there. You know, mm-hmm. They didn't want to do the right thing, and that would have helped us not have another Trump president. And then, on top of that, the fact that Trump was allowed to run for office.
Yep. No one stopped it. No one did anything. I kept thinking like Biden would do something before he left.
That's bipartisan. Yeah. They could have stopped that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think their donors.
Rock the boat.
Yeah. And they need to make their donors happy. AIPAC and other corporate donors. We need to get big corporations out of politics.
Oh, well, people are afraid of the cult too, you know. Mm-hmm. And absolutely. You know, when you're for the people, you know, you're supposed to be protecting the people. You're supposed to be, you know, protecting your oath to the Constitution. You know, if our soldiers are willing to sacrifice their lives for that, politicians should be willing to do the same.
So what does that look like for you? This is always my biggest question, and I don't actually have an answer to it. Like, so pretend we're still in the military right now. And not even before Iran, you're getting these orders from the worst commander in chief probably in history. He's blatantly breaking the Constitution. And now he's telling you to go bomb another country. Like, their oath is to the Constitution before the president, but these orders are also coming down through commissioned officers who don't actually take an oath to the president. So where is this, like, who steps up and does something? Like, when does this happen? What does that look like? What do you do? Knowing that it could put your ass in Leavenworth at any moment.
I mean, it's really up to to the senior non-commissioned officers to really, sit down with the juvenile soldiers to teach them what a lawful and unlawful order is. No one's more professional. I am a non-commissioned officer, leader of soldiers. You're the backbone of the military. So it's like, and that's the biggest thing. That a lot of these people in the military, they're looking at as a paycheck.
Yeah.
Not as something that holds weight. And the words that are values, the words hold meaning. They hold weight. And you have to have that to your heart. Selflessness, self-service, honor, integrity, respect, duty. Like these things, you can't just say these things. Just like the word patriot that people use, and it's like, do you understand what that means?
Most of them don't.
So we have to teach people how to respect the language that we use.
Yeah.
Otherwise, all is lost.
So what do you think is next? Like,
I don't know.
What does that look like?
It's hard to, we gotta be careful what we say.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously we have SOPs for everything, and I think the military eyes are wide open, but mum is the word. You know what I mean? There's gonna be a point where, our senior officers and senior enlisted are gonna have to say, hey, to go to the Constitution, and if this president is going rogue on us.
Yeah. Do you think he's got so many loyalists in that chain of command that it's like impossible to backtrack?
I think it's I think the chain of command is trying to watch what they do or say so they don't get fired.
Yeah.
So a lot of them already have. So they have a chance to get in there and say, hey, like, he's got to go. And that's the thing, we got to vote, we got to make sure that, listen, a lot of people talk about, we took it over to the Constitution, this, that, and third, but the sacrifice has to be there. The willingness, hey, we might have to go to jail. We might have to do things, but we also have to remember the people who stormed those beaches in Normandy, right? Mm-hmm. They stormed those beaches knowing and watching their battle buddies die on the way up.
Yeah.
They took that sacrifice. There's sacrifices that need to be made to ensure that, our kids, family members have a better life. That's what patriots do. They sacrifice. Yeah. They know what's in front of them, but they still do what they have to do regardless.
Do you think our current military has that ability to be that selfless?
I hope so.
I do too. I feel like by now, but I feel like the same thing with Congress and the Senate. I feel like people would have already done something to prevent from getting to this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, we train, and it has to be muscle memory.
Yeah.
Same here. We go to war and bullets are flying past our face, and we still do what we got to do. And, it doesn't matter where we're at.
Yeah. I saw briefly today that I believe the Canadian Prime Minister called for us to be removed from the G7.
Oh, that was like a week ago or so.
Oh, I just saw it today.
Yeah, that was a week.
Cool.
But he's also talking about putting Trump on charges,
as he should.
So like, if y'all listening in. Every country has to come together, and if America saw what America was doing to another country, America will step in, and we need that.
Do you think? Because they're doing that with Israel, like literally almost our only ally left, and with what Israel's doing to Palestine, and nothing is happening.
What I'm saying, like, you get what I'm saying though. Like, if another country saw what we were doing to our country, like, we need our allies to be like, look, we know Trump's the problem, but the people aren't.
Yeah, the bulk of the people aren't.
Yeah, so that's the thing. We need you know we need to be saved from this administration. We need people to be ready. You might not be able to go to a Walmart. You might not be able to get your coffee. Like, like, you might be living without electricity. Like, it's that kind of, we need that kind of revolution. We can't just go back. We can't just protest to go back to business as usual.
Yeah, there needs to be more action after that.
It has to be, like, what I'm saying is, like, be in your protest, but don't leave. We can't leave. We got to keep going until he's gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like if you're in, some of these other countries, they don't stop protesting until they get what they're asking for.
Yeah.
And it's like we protest and we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna go back to work. It's like, you weren't that mad.
Yeah, you can't be that mad if you just go back to work.
Listen, when things were going on in my town, I was out there protesting every day, whether it's with people or it was by myself. I didn't stop until shit went down, and they put a sign out there that said "No hate in Ocean County." Like, you have to be willing to put forth the effort, and you gotta be consistent. And that's the problem, is that our country is not consistent enough with asking for change, because there's so much instant gratification.
Yeah, well, and a lot of our population, that hasn't been modeled. Like, what does it look like to be a part of resistance or a revolution or changing what's happening? Because nothing has changed in, I mean, certainly not my lifetime, and probably even well before.
Because nobody wants to sit in a cold cell,
Yeah.
But my thing is, for me, I'd rather sit in a cold cell and make sure that my daughter has a better life than, it sucks. Like, I don't want to be away from my kid, but, like, if I didn't get charged and was on the news, right? People would still be running around with Confederate flags in my town.
Yeah.
Sometimes
that's crazy.
Sometimes you gotta make that step. I know it's hard. Trust me. Like, I don't want to get in trouble, but do I want my kid to be called an N-word walking down the street? Fuck no.
Yeah.
I'll take trouble for $100.
Yeah. I think you have definitely a different mentality than the bulk of the population, but I think it's something we need to talk about sharing. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back. Okay, she'll edit that in. So tell us about FAFO, your organization.
So, like, FAFO started just from a protest. We so what was going on with Donald Trump and his regime taking historical figures out of, like, websites, and taking down statues, and pretty much whitewashing military history, with, like, the Navajo code talkers, the Sissy Airmen, who else we talk about,
He renamed several naval ships.
Yeah, like, it's just,
yeah. Even, I think, some of the military bases.
Yeah, they put them back to their slave owner names.
Yes.
Harry Tubman. They tried to change the history about what was going on with Harry Tubman and her sacrifices to this country. A lot of people don't realize that they're trying to make being a patriot and being a service member like equal to being a white supremacist.
Yep.
And I had enough. Like when they started doing that show, I was like, no, what the fuck? Like, so we brought brought a couple organizations together, like Defense of Democracy, Resist Persist, Veterans Fighting, Veterans Defending Democracy.
Moms against.
Yeah.
Wait.
No, Stop Moms for Liberty.
Stop Moms for Liberty. Liberty, yes.
So it was, and then we were like, hey, like, we got this website going. We made the website Fight Against Fascism. And they're like, all right, cool. And I was like, hey, why don't you make it a .org, And that was it. We were like, okay, well, now we have an organization. So, it kept evolving, and now we have people in different states. We have, a Discord, and, we're getting traction online. And we're, working with different organizations like Indivisible, and, we're slowly building, and we're trying to bring activism to a place where it's like, all right, well, it's not just, a bunch of white people running around, trying to take over spaces where BIPOC and LGBTQ voices are not being heard.
Yeah.
Plus, trying to empower veterans as well. But it's a marriage of both things. And I try to give, my fiance the floor as much as possible so she can, educate and teach people, and possibly help people deconstruct and really just get out there and show people what it's like to really, battle this stuff for real.
Yeah.
Instead of just cosplaying it.
Well, and really being an ally and being a productive ally.
Fuck that word ally bullshit. That ain't that. Listen, man, if someone calls themselves an ally, you should have red flags going on, because like, look, like allies, what they do is they and I'm not saying this is you, I'm just saying people in general, like what they do is they hide behind this mask, of like, oh, I want to help out. And it's like, well, the only reason why they want to help out is because they're, they are subconscious about who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not willing to sacrifice. Now, like, it could be an accomplice, that's something different. Like you're willing to put your body on the line and be a shield for Black voices and LGBTQ voices and indigenous voices, all these different voices. So when they're at a protest and they're having a speech or marching down the street, if you get arrested, you'll get a slap on the wrist. But if they get arrested, they're going to get the highest penalties. So we need to make sure that there's people that are willing to be a shield and be willing to amplify the voices that need to be heard. And a lot of so-called activists that call themselves allies, they'll be a part of the movement, but then they'll be using microaggressions while organizing. Like we had somebody, not gonna name names or anything, but like we were in a chat together and they're literally using microaggressions and
without even realizing it.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's just like you could tell this person was definitely uncomfortable with their whiteness, and it's like you haven't deconstructed enough to be doing this stuff, and we're supposed to be on the same. We're supposed to be, on the front lines together.
Yeah, fighting the same fight.
Yeah, you don't even know what you're looking at.
Yeah, that is really interesting. And I forgot when I was talking to Jasmine, which anyone who's listening, that's Tom's fiance. I was talking to her on Wednesday and she used the word accomplice. And I think that word in her speech is what got the response from that woman, like
Yeah,
basically saying that she was inciting violence. And
yeah.
um,
That's the thing. That person thinks that they're an ally.
yeah,
You
you're
know what
right.
I'm
And
saying?
I would call myself an ally, but putting it that way, because I didn't actually ask her to elaborate on that. When she said accomplice, I was like, what? I've not heard this, but I do like it. I like
Um,
it. I think it's appropriate and you're not wrong because that does put you side by side on the front lines with someone and not
yeah.
in a bad way. I mean, of course, the opposition would disagree. Um, but yeah,
A lot of doing this work, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable and deconstruct your whiteness and understand your role in the game, right?
yeah,
So white people white people's role in the game is to be in the back while marginalized people are on the front, but also be willing to um, kind of flank the opposition at the same time.
okay. I am going to pause this for another commercial break. So tell us what's next. What's next for FAFO? I know there's fightagainstfascism.org, but what do you have next on the plate that people can get involved in with you?
Basically, we have a call to action about what's going on with the VA, about discrimination on veterans who are left leaning, and also getting out there and getting ready to vote. We got to get Democrats back in the seats of the House so we can get Trump out of office. And
Progressive, activist, actionable Democrats.
yeah,
Not the Nancy Pelosi's of the world.
yeah. I mean,
They need to retire.
and get out to your local actions and be an active participant. Don't just sit out there with a flag or with a sign. Be a participant. Help with the organization process. Um, you know, get out there and start your own marches. Don't be complacent. If you see a protest going on and you see white supremacists, moving in on the action, you know, have some training, get some de-escalation training, and surround them, get them out of there.
Yeah.
Stop letting white supremacists feel comfortable in spaces where they're not welcome.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, are you going to be involved with any of the July 4th or July 17th protests that are coming up?
July 17th, we're going to be involved. July 4th, not so much. We might. We're not really sure yet. Because of the holiday stuff.
Yeah.
For me, like I never was a July 4th fan anyway. But it's just the fact that that's another like thing with like deconstructing. It's like people are more focused on the holidays
Hmm.
instead of focus on what needs to happen. I'd rather be out there, you know, disrupting what's going on than do a bullshit ass holiday.
Yeah. Be a disruptor. Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for taking a random 30 or so minutes out of your Sunday to record with me.
Hey, no worries.
Um, Tom is Combat Veterans Against Trump on TikTok and FAFO FAFO official. Is that right?
Oh no, it's Fight Against Fat. Oh no, that's that Jasmine runs that account.
Oh, okay. I can't remember the handle now.
Yeah, fighting FAFO official. That's the
Okay, FAFO official on TikTok. So
um
follow along. You will have loads of information and entertainment following Tom on TikTok.
I'm always in their faces. I am the co-founder of Fight Against Fascism organization. We are a grassroots organization, veteran-led, people-powered. We were founded out of South Jersey, and we are moving our way across the United States, and we have representation across America right now.
And how can people find you?
You can find us on fightagainstfascism.org. And we have multiple social medias, including Discord. And sign up for the Discord, and also put your information in, and we'll send you an email, and we'll get you squared away.
Heather can be found at bitchesgetstuffdone.org if you're interested in starting a chapter in your area. I am at HoosierBitchesGetStuffDone.org and Friends of Blythe Potter on TikTok. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, anytime.
Unapologetic on the attack. Now's the time.